Hey y'all, I am back with my favorite person ever, Dr. Bill Campbell. You guys have heard me talk about him so many times, and we are doing this case study now on me.
Yes.
And I just ate vegetables for a week, so I wanted to talk about that because I got so many questions about it, so I know that we can just really dive in. Now, full disclosure, we are publishing this, so we are not going to be able to talk about the exact numbers today.
Yeah, we'll talk about trends. And we hope to publish, as long as a journal will accept it.
I guess as long as they accept it. But our goal is to publish it, so we are doing everything super regulated. I mean, everything we do. Pretty much I've been coming here since 2014 and getting data done. But this time we're making sure that it is, everything's labeled properly and whatever, so we actually, with the goal to publish. So, again, I guess if people aren't familiar, this is their first time listening. Dr. Bill Campbell was my grad school advisor at USF. Do you want to say anything else about yourself? Or?
Sure. So I've been at USF. I think this is year 12. I run the USF Physique Lab, where we investigate training and nutritional interventions to improve one's physique. So, and the best way I like to describe it is, for people who are already fit or who are already lean, if they want to look better, that's the kind of research that we do. So we do
cool stuff.
Yes, very, very cool stuff.
Basically everything that, if you're tuning into my channel, you most likely are into kind of the physique space, or you are just in general like body comp oriented. A lot of the research that people look to or refer to is in overweight or obese populations, and that's totally fine, but that's a completely different animal. So for people who are interested in maybe physique stuff, or kind of it's no longer like, oh, let's extrapolate this from this animal study, we're actually kind of doing it. So that's what I love about the lab. It's grown exponentially since I've been here, and it's amazing. So when I came to Campbell with this idea, background, when I compete, at least this past year when I did several of my shows, Cliff would use a peaking method where we would deplete and then we would load even more towards the end of the week. And when we did the depletion, I was already on pretty low calories, like, let's be honest, so it's not really like it was that much bigger, but it was just a little bit lower, and it was, hey, have most of your carbs from vegetables. And I was like, why? Not like I was gonna get much else because of where it was, but just curious. And so there's a few reasons, but one of the reasons, and he just said hypothetically, I feel that it helps deplete clients a little bit more, and then no fruit on peak week just because of storing in the liver versus muscle glycogen, et cetera, et cetera. So that was kind of a prelude. I did that for all 5 of my peaks last year. I really enjoyed it, started doing that for my clients, and I just found that it really worked. Now, I'm in a place clearly not stage lean, not competing anytime soon, and I was like, I want to just tighten up a little bit. I don't want to lose a ton of weight because I know what that takes, but I do want to diet a little bit. So I thought, randomly, wouldn't this be a cool idea to try that? And God, my voice is like really struggling over here. What if I tried that for like a week and then I started a regular diet? Like, would that help? Just because I know from clients that it's so challenging sometimes to lose weight initially. And what we know from research is that you're not going to lose a lot of muscle early on. At a higher body fat, it's harder to lose muscle. And you're motivated to actually stick to said diet. So I thought, hey, why don't I try this? This would be really interesting. So I presented the idea to Campbell, who's already kind of had sort of ideas about more rapid fat loss.
Yes,
studies.
That's a future direction. And we've been doing a lot of case studies recently here as well.
So case studies are great. Obviously, they're, it can't be applicable to everybody, but it is, you can really, really pinpoint certain things and like control everything. So I was like, hey, what if I did this for a week, and then what if we do 7 weeks of dieting and then we track it afterwards? And what was your initial reaction? Like, you were excited?
Oh, yeah.
Surprised?
Because that you wanted to do this?
Yeah.
Because as Lauren said, what we're going to start doing next spring is some rapid fat loss studies. So basically asking how much fat can we take off of somebody in a 1 or 2 week period while maintaining their metabolic rate, their muscle mass. So having you agree to do this case study, we're going to get some pilot data for those future studies. So
I think it's definitely a challenging concept. So basically I'll kind of explain what we did. All right, so what we did, the nitty gritty details. So for 2 weeks prior, I kind of knew around what I was eating, but I had I started trucking and estimating a little bit tighter. There was a range, of course, like because I wasn't trying to hit specific stuff every single day, but the average was about 2,400 calories. And that's kind of what we had assumed anyway, but that was, there was some days that were lower, some days that were higher. And on average, again, my weight was about 155. So that's kind of where I was starting out. And so what we said was, okay, how aggressive can we get? So we cut calories 50% to 1,200. And then we set protein at 1 gram per pound, so 155. And then we did, it was like 42 grams of fat, but then 50 grams of carbs, mostly from vegetables. So no other hard carb sources. So I pretty much ate mostly meat and veggies. And then I did have some hydrolyzed isolate, like the Formula 1, which I usually have after workouts, but I ended up having that on regular days too, just because it's only a few grams of carbs and it was higher protein without really anything else, which was obviously the whole point. And then I would either have like a serving of almond butter or I would have like some avocado. So that was like the only not vegetable carb sources I had, and literally it was just veggies outside of that. So I, of course there was minor fluctuations every day, but it ended up being, I hit on average for the week 48 carbs, 154 protein, and 44 fat. So literally like spot on. And we added in baseline. I was doing like one cardio session a week, maybe like half an hour. So I added in a few. So now I'm doing 120 minutes, and I'm gonna do that the entire time. So for the next 8 weeks, that's what I'm gonna be doing every day. So just a little bit of cardio, nothing crazy, but just a little bit to I am in a deficit.
And can I add in a little context? So in our prior weight loss studies, our caloric deficit in our subjects was 25% from baseline. Mm-hmm. So this is double. And I would want to ask you, what's the most aggressive you've been with a client in their first week?
I've never done this besides with my other client, Shayna, who I said, hey, I'm trying this. Would you be interested? So I think this is going to be really applicable.
We should have flew her down here to get the
right?
data on her.
Damn it, Shayna. But no, she lost like 6 pounds and she loved it. She said,
and
it
did
was
you
like
do about a 50%?
Yeah, we did. It was very aggressive too.
Okay, so in 1 week she lost 6 pounds. Okay.
Yeah, which of course, and hers was starting a little bit higher because she just didn't, whatever. But so I find that it's really helpful for people, or could be helpful for people who maybe have trouble when they first start out with a diet, which is a lot of people. I find that happens with a lot of clients. And it just depends on body type, dieting history, metabolism. I mean, there's a lot of factors here, obviously, you guys. But in general, if you're going to have trouble dropping, this might be a viable option. I'm not saying that everybody should do this. Absolutely not. But
it's like a punch in the mouth method, essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
we're gonna
and we'll see how this kickstarts the diet. That's what I'm really interested in. Okay, yeah, we did this for a week and we're gonna go over the numbers. But what happens now the next 7 weeks? Do I continue to drop better than I might have normally? Because I've dieted enough in my life to kind of know how I drop. You know what I mean? So I'm just really interested. And again, I'm not getting on stage. This is just like a simple kind of diet. We'll get to what I'm going to do after. But so I've tried it with one of my clients. I've tried it with myself. And you have to be really meticulous, clearly, with the tracking. It's not like an easy thing. You can't just like throw that together. But it's really not that bad. Okay, so those are the details on kind of what I did for the week. Now we have the actual numbers and what we tested, which this is what we normally test. But like I said, we went really in depth. We did a few questionnaires.
Yeah, so we did a stress inventory. So how stressed are you? Does basically
perceived stress.
Yeah. How stressed are you? So if we literally cut your calories in half for a week, that can be stressful to a lot of people. So we're trying to capture quantitatively how stressful is that to you, and qualitatively how stressful was it for you this week now that you've done a week of cutting your calories in half?
Yeah.
You were a little grouchy. No,
you're like, God, you're a real asshole this morning. No, so the first 2 days, I'll be super honest, I had a really bad headache, like those kind of like carb withdrawals, because I eat a lot of carbs, and I drank a lot the 4 days before because I was in Vegas, so there could have been a lot of withdrawals just happening in general, just coming down from it.
So getting sober was part of
sober was also part of, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so really bad headache the first 2 days, but not really noticing. I mean, yeah, I was hungry, but it was like, whatever, I have enough, food still stored in me. And then the Saturday and Sunday, we were at the Orlando Europa, so I had clients, I was at the Celestial Bodies booth, I was meeting a bunch of people, so we're running around, like, there was a lot going on, there was a lot of caffeine involved, but I didn't really have a chance to worry about it. I brought all my food, I ate one meal out, where I literally ate steak and vegetables, so it really wasn't that challenging. And then on Monday, I was like mega trashed, like super fatigued, but a lot of times that happens after the trip and like the adrenaline and all the activity, you know, whatever. So not sure, and Mondays are really busy for me too, so it could have been a combination.
And this was a Thursday to Thursday week of dieting.
Yeah.
So by Monday, you're about halfway into your week.
Halfway through, you're kind of like, oh, and then Tuesday was like really hungry. That was like the hungriest day, I think. And then yesterday, we're filming this on Thursday, so the last day, Wednesday, was actually far better. Like obviously it was still challenging, but I felt significantly better. And that's kind of where a lot of people get, and myself too, like when you're dieting, is like you're coming down and then you kind of get to this spot where you're just kind of like comfortably numb. Cue that song. You know, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay. So, and then today now had breakfast, had some carbs.
After testing.
Yeah, of course, after testing. Anybody who gets their body comp done after they eat, that's completely invalid, guys. I'm sorry. You have to be completely fasted from food and water to get an accurate body composition. So please don't tell me that you got your body comp done at like 2 p.m, because that's not going to be accurate. Anyways, little diatribe. We should definitely make a video about body comp testing.
Yes, we need to do that.
Because that is pretty controversial. But, so yeah, so that was kind of the phases. So yeah, let's talk about what we actually recorded.
Okay. Oh, and let me just say the other questionnaires real quick.
Yeah.
The stress inventory, the 3-factor eating questionnaire, which you did in your original flexible dieting study. You introduced me to that questionnaire. And what the other questionnaire?
Hunger scale.
Yeah, hunger scale, which I worked on that with Menno Henselman's group. We're going to be using that in our upcoming diet break study. So this will be the
like
first
a
case study. Yeah, Likert scale. Feelings in the past week. So this is perfect for this study since you've had a different last week than normal.
Yeah, and a lot of research I'll read and I'm like, oh, I wish they would have, like, you know, and psych measurements are never perfect. But it is cool to kind of get an idea, like, where there changes, where they're not, because that's usually the questions that I want to know when somebody's...
Yeah, you want to know what's going on in the psychology.
Yeah, you a little off, or what's going on? So then we did all of our normal baseline testing, which included...
Body composition was the main one, and in my lab, we do 2 methods. We do skin folds and ultrasound. We're doing resting metabolic rate. And the last one is some circumferences. So shoulders, across the chest, back, glutes, glute fold, and waist.
Yeah, which is pretty much the most pertinent, I would say, for, you know, physique-minded people. And what was the trends? Because I know we can't talk about the numbers, but what were the trends?
Yeah, and let me just explain in a couple seconds. The reason we can't give you actual numbers, when we go to publish this, we have to state that we have not presented this data. So what researchers typically do at conferences, that they will give, hey, this is a study we're doing. These are the directions that the data seems to be going, but they don't ever share specific numbers. So the reason we can't share specific numbers is because it would hurt our chances to get this published when we try to get it into a journal.
And we want to.
Yes. So the general numbers are, after a week of, I would say, severe caloric restriction, not surprisingly, the numbers have gone down, all favorable.
But you were pretty impressed that they sorry, we can't say significant. We don't know if it's significant.
We don't even know.
But they did, everything trended down. Every measurement that we did, which is, I think, pretty exciting. Besides RMR, there was no real changes.
Yeah, that stayed the same, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah.
Great, let's just say your body comp went down, but you've lost 10% of your metabolic rate. Well, that's
not good either.
No.
Yeah, so there's always pros and cons with stuff. So we're pretty much trying to push the limits of, like, what can we do to make sure that we maintain that as long as we can, but also still see body comp results.
And now that we know that your metabolic rate didn't get suppressed, we feel pretty good about the next 7 weeks of dieting.
Yeah.
That you'll likely have some dieting success because your metabolism has not been damaged or suppressed.
Damaged.
Yes.
The elusive damage. Week 1 went really great. Honestly, I don't think we could have expected anything better, to be completely honest. So super excited about that. So now what are we gonna do the next 7 weeks? So I'm going to be, for 5 days, on a 30% deficit. So from that 2,400, 30% down for 5 days straight. And then 2 days, I'm either going to eat at maintenance or what I'm calling rough maintenance. And I will, of course, annotate this every week. But essentially, I'm dieting, but I am not competing. This is not, you know, I have a lot of travel going on. I have a lot of stuff in my life. So what I'm gonna do is, if I am traveling or there is an event or I just wanna have an untracked meal, what I'm gonna do is I'll hit 75% of my protein targets and then 50% of carbs and fats earlier in the day, and then have a dinner where that's not tracked. So this does not mean I'm eating 3 pints of fucking Ben and Jerry's, which I definitely would. Obviously, I'm still gonna be smart about it, but it is gonna give me a little bit more flexibility. But if not, if I'm at home or I'm simply can track whatever I'm doing, like if I choose to do that, then I'll just hit like maintenance for those 2 days. So I've typically always done double refeeds. I've always really enjoyed those. Now sometimes those get pulled, of course that changes, but again, this is just a lifestyle diet. I'm just trying to tighten up a little bit and lose some body fat, not step on stage, a completely different thing.
And this is off season. You're in your off season, so
this is just a little cut per se. I just kind of got to a place where I was a little bit uncomfortable, so I'd like to be, you know, a few pounds less. So we're gonna test in
3 weeks from today,
and then in 4 weeks.
4 weeks after that. So it's an 8-week cut.
8-week cut.
And then we assess after the first week of severe caloric restriction, 3 weeks later, which is halfway through this 8-week diet, and then at the end of the diet.
Yeah, and we're gonna do all the same measurements again, and we'll definitely do another video when we're done kind of talking about the whole experience, and then hopefully as soon as possible we'll have it published so you guys can see. But I'm just super excited about this, and I'm so thankful that you're always open to my crazy ideas, and we can do this. This is my second case study this year. Like, I'm literally just always the guinea pig, but I think it's cool, and you know, this might be a viable option for people. Definitely not for everybody, and you have to really be like locked in. It's not easy to hit high protein and low carbs and fat if you're not like mentally ready. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody's been dieting for a while, it's usually a little bit easier because you're just kind of inching your way down. But with this, it's like really aggressive. But it clearly it's worked pretty well for me, worked pretty well for my client. Doesn't mean it's gonna work for you, but it could be an option. So
yeah, and I think we mentioned this earlier, but this will serve as data that will inform our next study, likely about a year from now, on rapid fat loss. So depending on how you respond or not respond,
we can
that
change it.
Yes, the parameters with which we want to set up our first study will be impacted by these outcomes. Yeah. So I'm very excited. It's
Yee. Me too.
Nerdy scientist who loves data. This is great data.
I know, we're such losers. We're just always doing more data stuff. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this and learned a lot. And yeah, we'll be back in a few weeks with the, you know, final trends and kind of talking about like what we liked, what we didn't like, and go from there.